If you're looking for help for a troubled marriage because you have an uneven workload in your relationship, stay tuned for this episode. Welcome to the Dr. Wyatt Marriage Podcast, where developing a long-lasting, happy relationship is the status symbol to achieve, and following my tools is one path to help get you there. I'm your host, Dr. Wyatt Fisher, a licensed psychologist specializing in couples therapy. If you have active resentments in your relationship, the number one way to resolve them to improve your relationship is to go through my ER Marriage Intensive. ER is my most comprehensive resource to rebuild your relationship in 30 days. To learn more, click the link in the show notes or go to my website, drwyattfisher.com, and click on ER Marriage Intensive. So I'm going out of town for about a week and a half. So this will be my last episode that I record for about a week and a half. So I'm going to be skipping a week of the podcast. So I wanted to make sure I got this episode out early. And for the week that I won't be posting a new podcast episode, be sure to go back. Be sure to listen to one in the past that you haven't listened to already so that you can keep up your momentum with feeding your relationship. A new review just came in on the podcast. I wanted to read it to everybody because I appreciate getting your reviews so much. This is what they said. Thank you for your insightful and compassionate lessons in addressing the way we can better be of service in our relationships. I had a very dysfunctional upbringing and seemed to attract that in my dating. Your podcast has helped me to see things differently and to be easier on myself and easier on those I say I love. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your thoughtfulness, taking the time to leave a review. It just shows me this podcast is making a difference, and that inspires me to keep on making more episodes. So let's get into this topic. Uneven workload. What is an uneven workload? An uneven workload is when you feel like you are carrying more of the weight on your shoulders to move life forward than your partner is. It's very common for at least one partner to have resentment, to feel like we have an uneven workload. I have more on my shoulders. I'm responsible for more. I have a heavier mental load to keep track of everything and to do everything than my partner does. It's a common resentment when I work with couples. So today I thought I would unpack this topic and get into the details and talk more about how to solve it. Because if you want to help a troubled marriage, you have to make sure things feel fair. Now, we don't have to be taught if things are fair or not. Think about kids for a minute. It is innate within them to call out when things are not fair. That's not fair. She got to sit there last time. That's not fair. He got the candy bar last time before I did. These kind of statements are common with kids, and guess what? You don't outgrow it. This sense of justice, this sense of fairness, this sense that things need to be even continue with us into adulthood and especially into our marriage. So the moment we start feeling like things are unfair, there's an uneven workload, it starts to create resentment. Therefore, making sure things feel fair to both partners is an important element of a healthy relationship. So that's the first step, is just understanding what is it? What is an uneven workload? The second thing to keep in mind is remember the background between you and your partner, because you both come from different upbringings. And therefore, how work was treated, what you saw modeled, is going to be different for each of you. Some of you may have come from backgrounds where you did a lot of work and you participated in the work. Others of you may come from backgrounds where you didn't participate in the work and your parents did most of the chores for you. So it's going to depend, but understanding your partner's history, what their family life was like around chores, what they saw modeled for them, and what was modeled for you, that's very important because it's going to help you have more perspective on why we're struggling now with an uneven workload. Most likely, it has some roots in your upbringing and in your partner's upbringing. Number 3, remember your circumstances. So all of us go through difficult times at times. Sometimes we're starting a new job. We may have some health issues. We might be going through a life transition. We might be starting graduate school. There could be all sorts of life situations that we're going through that impair us to contribute as much as we would like or as much as we normally do. And in those situations, you do need to have some grace toward your partner because they might be going through a season where they cannot chip in as much. They cannot help as much. But it's important to communicate on those difficult seasons so that you have similar expectations. You have to get on the same page. And remember, you can have grace toward your partner going through a difficult season only for so long, because eventually that grace is going to dry up. So if you're going through a difficult season and you're not able to show up as well, you're not able to help as much, Make sure you're getting support and help to get you through that season as quickly as you can, because eventually that's going to really start taxing your partner, because their grace eventually will dry up. So number 4, if you find yourself in a situation with your partner where you're starting to feel like things are unfair, things are uneven, I'm doing much more to keep our life moving forward than my partner is. If that's you, then you need to talk to your spouse about it. Sit down with them and say, hey, can we talk about how we divvy up chores? Can we talk about the mental load? Can we talk about who's in charge of what? Because I want to make sure we both feel like things are fair, and I'm starting to feel like things are a little uneven, a little unbalanced. And hopefully they're open to that conversation, and you can really sit down and talk through, what are all the things I'm in charge of? What are all the things you're in charge of? How much time do each of these things take per week? And let's look at it objectively to see if it's balanced or if it's off balance. The challenging thing with balance is it's a moving target. The moment you feel balanced in your marriage with workload, it can get off balance. So it's something you have to revisit on a regular basis to make sure both partners are feeling like, yes, things are fair, the workload is relatively even. But this is how you would have that conversation. Just write out all of the tasks you're both in charge of, how much time each of those things take. And that really helps because it makes it black and white, and you can both look at it to evaluate, am I doing more overall here, or are you doing more overall here? And then you have to negotiate, how can we balance this out? What are some things I need to take on, or what are some things you need to take on so it feels more fair and more balanced? If you have any areas of discrepancy where you're not seeing eye to eye, in those areas, strike a compromise, meet in the middle. But looking at your list objectively and how much time each item takes should help a lot for you to determine what adjustments need to be made so that things feel more fair. And then you want to review that arrangement on a regular basis. Don't assume your partner is okay with your arrangement. I see that a lot where one partner is assuming their spouse is okay with the arrangement, but they're really not okay. They're actually building resentment. So check in with your partner proactively and ask them this week, are you okay with our arrangement? Does it feel fair? Does it feel relatively even? Or do you feel like it's unbalanced? Do we need to make some adjustments so that it feels more even? So this is something my wife and I have had to go through because we have very different backgrounds. I was raised working all the time. My parents were making me cut the grass, stain the fence, clean the toilets, vacuum. We would have fun and we would have downtime, but it was only after all the chores were done, and there was always a lot of chores. Both of my parents were raised on farms, so they were raised working all the time, and they instilled that strong work ethic in my sister and I, so we were raised being very industrious and productive in a lot of tasks. And so I brought that style right into my marriage, where I work a lot, I hustle a lot, I'm constantly doing chores around the house, I like to keep things neat. And so that's just how I'm wired because of my background. In contrast, my wife was raised in Hawaii going to the beach, relaxing, having barbecues. And she did not have to do any chores around the house. Her mom did all of the chores for her. And my wife didn't get her first job until she was 22 years old. I got my first job when I was 12 years old being a paper boy. And I worked from that point onward. And so my wife also brought her background into our relationship, where she's much more focused on relaxing, connecting, hanging out, and doesn't focus much on the chores or what needs to be done. So in our early years of our relationship, this created a lot of friction because I felt like we had an uneven workload and I had much more on my shoulders than my wife did. And so it created resentment in me toward her. And eventually it built up, and then we had to address it, and then we had to revisit it on a regular basis. And I can say that our marriage is more even now with workload than it ever has been. And it's done wonders for my heart with how I feel toward her, because she's had to learn how to work hard, and I've had to learn how to relax. And so through the years, we've learned how to meet in the middle, but it has not been easy, because our family of origins were so completely opposite, and we brought that style right into our relationship. But the solution is exactly what I just recommended. We had to look at all the tasks we each were responsible for, and it was much heavier on my side. So through the years, we had to put more and more on her side of the equation to balance things out. and doing so has helped our relationship and it's made us feel much more like a team. So how are you feeling in your relationship? Are things fair? Are things even? Are things relatively balanced? Or are they unbalanced? If you feel like you're in a troubled marriage, that might be one of the reasons. You might feel like things are unfair. You might be feeling taken for granted. You might be feeling invisible. And if that's the case, you have to speak up. You have to bring this topic up, rebalance the scales so that you feel more like a team with your partner. If you'd like to learn all of my tools, I highly recommend joining my Tools Marriage class. We meet live every week through Zoom, so no matter where you live, you can join. It's my most cost-effective resource, and in it, I'm going to train you on all of my tools step by step so that you can build a healthy relationship from the ground up. To learn more, click the link in the show notes or go to my website, drwyattfisher.com, and click on Tools. If you found value in today's episode, be sure to click the 5 stars and leave a review, and be sure to click the share button and share this episode with a friend or a colleague, a family member, someone that you think could benefit from it as well. If you have questions you'd like for me to answer on the podcast, leave a voicemail at 303-578-0618 and I'll answer it on a future episode. And remember, your marriage is alive. If you care for it and nurture it, it will grow. But if you deprive it and neglect it, it will wilt and die. The choice is up to you. Take care.